On January 26, 2020, a small headline from a famous media outlet sent shockwaves worldwide when it announced that Kobe Bryant's helicopter had met with an accident. Within a few minutes, the whole of social media buzzed with news of Kobe Bryant's accident. Today on Terminal Defect, we will uncover this story of a tragic event that led to a horrific accident that changed the lives of Kobe Bryant and his family forever. On a cold, gray Sunday morning in the winter of 2020, Ara Zobayan, a veteran helicopter pilot, stood in the Atlantic Aviation Terminal at John Wayne International Airport in Orange County, California. He looked at his flight planning app, and the news was not good. The app showed a blanket of clouds covering the city, with a patchy haze underneath. This meant that large parts of the region were not suitable for flying, a big problem for a helicopter pilot like him. Zobayan's employer, OC Helicopters, had contracted their services to fly NBA superstar Kobe Bryant and 7 of his companions to Camarillo, a coastal airport located 80 miles to the northwest. For Zobayan, the pilot of the helicopter, it was more than a job. It was an opportunity to raise the profile of himself and his company. IX Express Helicopters was a small organization with only 6 helicopters and as many pilots. Most of their business involved transporting passengers to and from Long Beach and Catalina Island, a tourist destination 20 miles off the coast. However, custom charter flights for high net worth individuals such as Kobe Bryant were much more lucrative. Kobe was a valued client of the company. According to former Island Express pilot Kirk Deeds, Kobe's protection gave the company a certain luster. Keeping him happy was a priority for the company, and getting him to his destination safely and on time was Zobayan's first priority. On the morning of January 26, 2020, Bryant boarded the Sikorsky S-76B, a twin-engine aircraft considered one of the safest in the world. However, the company IX Express, which was responsible for the flight, was only licensed to fly under visual flight regulations, meaning the pilot had to be able to see the ground at all times. Brick Webb, the owner of OC Helicopters, had arrived at the terminal to help with boarding. Zobayan showed Webb the weather map, which was colored red, indicating conditions were too bad to fly the direct route to Camarillo over the coast. But Zobayan had a plan. He proposed an alternative route that would take them longer, but would take them safely inland and east of downtown LA. The safety of the flight was assured by an analysis tool to determine flight risk. A score higher than 45 would require the pilot to consult management before taking off. But since Bryant had to move on, Zobayan skipped this step and hit the submit button. With that, all Kobe Bryant and company had to do was arrive, along with a group of travelers from the Mamba Sports Academy. Bryant had recently retired from the NBA and took a special interest in his 13-year-old daughter Gianna's athletic development. He had formed Team Mamba with himself as coach and recruited a team of girls from Orange County to play with Gianna. Accompanying her were Peyton Chester and her mother Sarah Chester, as well as Alyssa Altobelli with her parents Carrie and John Altobelli. The team was also accompanied by Bryant's assistant coach, Christina Mauser, whom the Bryants had met through Gianna's private school at Corona del Mar. They were all heading to Thousand Oaks for a travel league basketball tournament. Bryant was running a little behind schedule, but that wasn't unusual, according to Whitney Bagg of Island Express. As soon as he climbed out of the car, Zobayan returned to the cockpit and Webb escorted the passengers to the Sikorsky helicopter. The interior of the helicopter was spacious, outfitted with polished mahogany veneer and gold-colored accents, upholstered in 2-tone leather with bench seats 4 across, one facing forward and the other back. At 9:06 a.m., the fuselage tilted forward and the aircraft came off the ground. The 2 turbines yawed louder as they started up, and the thumping of the rotor became louder. For enthusiasts, helicopters are the epitome of freedom. Helicopters are noisy and expensive, but they have the magical ability to take off and land almost anywhere. Bryant's favorite spot was the window seat on the left, facing forward. On a clear day, Zobayan would have been able to see all the way to the mountains, but today he could only see as far as the haze that covered the horizon. The city below was a patchwork of white and gray, punctuated by tiny green slivers of parks and golf courses. As Zobayan flew north, the landmarks emerged like islands in a foggy sea. He could make out the airfield at Los Alamitos, the Coyote Creek flood control channel, and the looping interchanges of the 605 through the sprawling area. Even the Union Pacific Rail Yard in East LA was visible in the haze. Zobayan had a deep knowledge of geography, as he grew up in Lebanon before moving to the United States in his teens. To save up for flying lessons, he worked as a parking attendant and eventually obtained his helicopter's license in 2001. By 2011, he worked for and was known to celebrities such as Kylie Jenner and Los Angeles Clippers forward Kawhi Leonard, who were among his regular customers. Flying in Los Angeles was a complex puzzle. Understanding the airspace and its various rules was essential. Los Angeles airspace is among the busiest in the world, with commercial and private jets and even a jetpack carrier. But the most dangerous hazard in flying here is inadvertent flying in instrument meteorological conditions, IMC. Simply speaking, it means getting abruptly stuck in bad weather conditions. This phenomenon has been the cause of numerous fatal accidents, including the tragedy of John F. Kennedy Jr. It can be especially deadly for helicopter pilots. To prevent such a fate, the Federal Aviation Administration introduced strict rules and required pilots, including Zobayan, to take courses to avoid IMC. As the Sikorsky flew away from downtown Los Angeles, the passengers aboard were amazed at the sights they were passing by. Dodger Stadium and the Los Angeles River zipped by under them as the helicopter moved northward. Ahead of them lay the looming Santa Monica Mountains, a vast wall of green stretching eastward from Malibu to Beverly Hills. Zobayan knew that there was a way through, a 4-mile gap near the LA Zoo. Beyond this lay the San Fernando Valley and the back door to Camarillo. As the passengers flew past the Silver Lake Reservoir, they were entering uncontrolled airspace, an area that was not monitored by an air traffic controller. But beyond the mouth of the mountains was the Burbank Airport, which was under strict surveillance. If they wanted to enter it, they had to get permission from the control tower. At 9:20 a.m., the pilot requested permission from the tower by radio. The response was not positive. The tower refused them permission based on low visibility and the fact that a SkyWest jet was about to land nearby. The pilot, however, had a solution. He requested special visual flight rules permission to fly through the airspace, even though conditions were below minimum. The catch was that the tower could only give permission if there were no other aircraft in the airspace at the time. The pilot then began flying the helicopter in circles, engaged just 400 feet above Glendale Homes.
Yeah, go ahead.
9:32 a.m. After 11 minutes of circling, Zobayan was finally given permission to enter Burbank airspace. He was eager to get to Camarillo, his final destination, but due to departing traffic in that direction, he was forced to take a detour around the San Fernando Valley. This increased the delay, but Zobayan was not worried. What did worry him was the thick layer of clouds that had been haunting him since Orange County. It had given him plenty of room before, but soon he would have to cross Calabasas Pass. Zobayan did not know if the clouds would remain at the same height, yet he still had light ahead of him. If he could get past the top of the pass, he would make it. Zobayan was motivated to carry out his assignments, and he took pride in doing good work for Kobe and Vanessa Bryant, who often asked him personally by name. Despite the risk of delay, Zobayan was determined to get the passengers to Thousand Oaks. He had a couple of options. If the pass was blocked, return to Van Nuys or land and wait for the afternoon sun to burn away the fog. 9:40 a.m. Zobayan left Van Nuys airspace and headed to the southwest corner of the San Fernando Valley, where he transitioned to uncontrolled airspace. He called SoCal Approach, a regional air traffic control center, and requested flight tracking, a service that provides real-time weather and air traffic advisories. SoCal Helicopter 72EX with you. Transitioning in VFR conditions at 1500 to Camarillo. Helicopter 72EX, SoCal Approach. Roger. You're just gonna stay down low at that for all the way to Camarillo? Yes, sir. Low altitude. SoCal Approach warned him that they would probably lose radar and radio contact with him soon, but Zobayan stayed on the frequency and waited for a positive response. Along the Ventura Freeway, he flew over the commons at Calabasas Shopping Center, the rows of McMansions in Calabasas Park Estates, and a water tower on a stubby hill. As the ground beneath him gradually rose higher, He kept pace with his own height. It didn't make much difference. But if he ended up in a cloud, his IMC training would come in handy. He knew he had to keep flying straight ahead and climb up quickly through the cloud layer, engaging the autopilot to maintain flight direction and set the rate of ascent. Zobayan buzzed over the top of the pass at 150 miles per hour, 9:44 a.m. This helicopter, pacing in the sky, was also witnessed by a few hikers on the ground. A hiker who was waiting in the parking lot for her friend to arrive at the Juan Bautista de Anza East trailhead narrated seeing a wayward plane. She saw a long white helicopter fly low over and then disappear in a low-hanging cloud cover. 500 feet to the west, the hiker watched in awe as the helicopter seemed to vanish into the clouds. In the cockpit, the pilot, Zobayan, had accidentally flown into instrumental weather conditions, and he now faced the challenge of getting back to safety. He withdrew the controls and started climbing, hoping to find a hole in the clouds to descend through. Zobayan radioed into the new controller on the frequency, saying he was just west of Van Nuys, and he began to climb in search of clearer skies.
Ray, where are you?
Just west of Van Nuys, 2 Echoes.
Zobayan felt the adrenaline rush through his veins as he pushed the helicopter up into the clouds. He hadn't expected to find himself in this situation, and he knew that he had to stay focused and react quickly. He had not practiced proper techniques during his IMC training and had started flying manually instead of engaging the autopilot. This put him at risk of disorientation, and he soon noticed that the aircraft was tilting to the left. He corrected the error and asked SoCal Approach's new controller to monitor the flight. The climb continued, and Zobayan climbed to 1,000 feet. There were moments of clarity in the clouds, and he knew he was close to the summit. He reported over the radio that he wanted to climb to 4,000 feet.
2 Echo X-ray, what are you saying intentions?
We're climbing to 4,002 Echoes.
And began looking for an opening in the clouds to descend through. Zobayan was now in a dangerous situation. The control tower asked Zobayan what he planned to do after reaching an altitude of 4,000 feet, but was met with dead silence. This was the last known contact of the helicopter with the air control tower, 9:45 a.m., on the hills of Calabasas. 2 mountain bikers were pausing on the trail above the Los Virgenes Municipal Water District facility when a big thumping sound caught their attention. Suddenly, a blue and white helicopter appeared out of the clouds, flying from left to right. They got a small glimpse of its torso before disaster struck. In just seconds, the helicopter crashed into the hillside at dizzying speed. The helicopter crashed. Without hesitation, the biker stormed down the hill towards the burning wreckage. At 9:48 a.m. at OC Helicopters, no one had any idea what had transpired. Patty Taylor, the operations manager at OC Helicopters, sent out a group text inquiring. Land and the limo driver waiting at Camarillo replied, "Not yet." Worried and increasingly concerned, Taylor called her primary contact at IX Express, Vice President Bagg, and asked where Zobayan was on the flight tracking software. Bagg checked the screen and saw that the helicopter had not been tracked from 9:45 onwards. Bagg directed Angel Perez, the ground operations manager, to pull out the emergency response manual and start running the checklist. Rick Webb sent out a text to a group that included Zobayan and the limo driver, asking, "Are you okay?" One of the company's other helicopters took off and headed for Zobayan's last known position. Unfortunately, within 10 minutes, firefighters arrived at the crash site and realized there were no more lives to be saved. At 12:05 a.m., tragically, news broke out that NBA superstar Kobe Bryant and his daughter Gigi had died in a terrible helicopter crash. Social media speculation and false reports ran rampant until a small media outlet ultimately confirmed the heartbreaking details. The crash, which also claimed the lives of 7 other passengers, had been the subject of intense scrutiny. For Bryant's widow, Vanessa, this tragedy was all the more unbearable because it could have been prevented. As the final investigation suggested, she, along with the families of the other victims, has filed a wrongful death lawsuit against the helicopter company, IX Express. It is hard to come to terms with the fact that such a tragedy could have been avoided, yet here we are. We can only hope that justice is served and that the families of the victims find some solace in the wake of this devastating loss. The death of Kobe Bryant has been met with shock and sadness from people around the world, including US President Donald Trump, Oscar-winning actress Reese Witherspoon, NBA Hall of Famers Bill Russell and Larry Bird, Reverend Jesse Jackson, Disney CEO Robert Iger, rapper Wyclef Jean, former NFL player Keyshawn Johnson, and FC Barcelona Football Club. They expressed their grief and admiration for Bryant's legacy as an athlete, mentor, and creative genius. After the accident, a detailed investigation was launched into the whole drama. It was found that the helicopter crash that killed Kobe Bryant and 8 other people in Southern California was most likely caused by the pilot's decision to fly into clouds in violation of federal rules, blinding him to his surroundings and causing him to lose control of the helicopter. Had he decided not to take off owing to abject weather conditions or engage the autopilot at the right time, instead of maneuvering the helicopter by hand, that fateful day would have taken a different turn. That's all for this video. Please like, share, subscribe, and turn on the notification for more such videos. Thanks for watching.